Hello. I hope you can still see the froth on the top of this lovely sparkling wine glass that I have in front of you. Well, I'm Colin Harkness. I'm an English guy and I'm living in Spain, writing about one of my great passions, and that's Spanish wine. I broadcast and I also, as you can see, record videos about this passion of mine. Well, Spanish wine, yes, but in this particular case, it's Spanish sparkling wine. You can see the bubbles going right from the bottom of the glass right the way to the top. What about the glass itself? Well, the glass is a new design. It's sort of tulip design, in a way, tulip shape. And the reason for that is because we believe in wine circles these days that whilst it's lovely to see the bubbles rising in the glass, in a flute glass of wine, which has been very common up to these recent times, that's about all you can get out of the flute. Just you can see the bubbles. Sparkling wine has aromas, it has flavours, and you can get all of these much better if you're actually tasting it out of a glass which is designed to give of its best. This new glass, I'm quite proud of it. I'll be getting some more soon because I want to make sure that when we have dinner guests around, we can give them the pleasure of this glass as well. What about the wine in it, the sparkling wine in it? You hold it against a white background, like you always should do, really, when you're trying to assess the colour of a wine. And you can see that it's very golden in colour, isn't it? You might say it's liquid gold. Well, there's a reason for that. One of the great varieties involved in this blend is Chardonnay, which very often gives that darker colour. And of course, Chardonnay is one of the great varieties which is used all over the world for sparkling wine, but perhaps made most famous in Champagne, which you might consider it to be its home. But it's not just Chardonnay in this particular wine. Oh no, it's a grape variety which is called Vihillega. Oh, it's so difficult for me to pronounce that. So what I'll do is I'll actually reduce it down to the nickname that it's got, and certainly this is the name which is used on one of this particular Bodegas white wines, which uses 100% Vihillega, and they call that Viji, V-I-J-I. Now it comes from a bodega called Dominio Buenavista. You may be thinking to yourself, you've heard that before. Well, it won't surprise me for two reasons. First of all, this particular bodega is starting to win prizes over on the other side of the pond in the United States, and certainly over here in Spain as well. But there's another reason. I recorded a DVD not long ago. This was about 100% Viji or Vihillega. I'm getting quite confident now saying this. And that's maybe where you've heard it before. If you want to look at my name, Colin Harkness on wine, you'll see some of the other videos that I've produced as well. The bodega is probably about 1,000 meters above sea level. Now that is serious altitude. And there's a benefit there. The reason there's a benefit is because it means that at night you have a dramatic drop in temperature. And that drop in temperature means that the wine remains acidic. We need that acidity. It also ripens because there's plenty of sunshine there, and you've got a great balance as well. And of course, you've got a great assist as well, if you like, in football terms, an assist there. Didn't used to say that when I was a lad, but these days the footballers are all granted assists, as if that's as important as scoring the goal, and I suppose it is, of course. Anyway, that's nothing to do with it. Let me move on. The wine is actually a really full-bodied wine. It's sparkling wine, yes, and so it does all those things. It ticks all those boxes about celebration and freshness, cleanliness, etc. It's all of those, but it's got some depth of flavour and some depth of aroma as well. It's a charming wine, but it's got more to it than that as well. You know, on the nose, when I first actually opened the wine and had a little sniff at it, like I always do, it actually had an unusual, and in a way, I'm a little bit nervous about telling you this, but because it actually had an aroma of golden syrup. There's nothing sweet about this, I can assure you that. There's a little bit of marzipan on there, and coming through also, there's a great citrus, a little bit of apple blossom, and maybe some herbs in there as well. I told you, there's a lot to this particular wine. If you actually put it to your lips, take a little sniff out of it, you can also get just a tiny touch of toffee on the aroma as well, and maybe some fresh mountain herbs. I'm going to put it in my mouth, but I'm not going to drink it straight away. I'm going to hold it there, and this is something that I recommend that you do as well when you're tasting wines, because you'll get a certain benefit from it when you do that. It gives more when it's actually been warmed up a little bit in your mouth. Well, it should always be served cool, of course. This is a super wine. It really is. It really is a super wine. It's got all those elements I've talked about before, but it's also got a refreshing dryness to it. It's a brut, but I think they've actually kept the sugar levels well below the maximum that you can get to. I wouldn't be surprised if it's about 7 or 8 grams, whereas you can get up to, I think, 12 grams of sugar, residual sugar, in a brut and still call it a brut. Over that, it would have to go to a different category. But this is a brut, and it's a dry brut as well, which I particularly like. I have a feeling that over the last few years in Spain, some of the bruts have been edging up a little bit when it comes to the residual sugar level, and that's why I usually go for a brut nature, which is under 3 grams, so it's a very, very dry, bone dry you might say, but it's a style I particularly like. And so because this is one of the drier bruts I've tasted recently, it's one that I particularly like. I think you will do as well. Do you know, as I'm talking, and I don't know how long I've been talking there, maybe 30 seconds or perhaps a minute, I'm not really sure, but I can still get the flavour of this wine. Now that's a measure of quality wine, because the longer it lasts in your mouth, those sensations and the flavour of it, the better the wine is, the longer it lasts after it's actually been swallowed. So listen, my advice would be check out the website of Dominio Buenavista, and you will find that they do an array of wines there, which are all super. I'll actually be writing an article a little bit later on today, or maybe tomorrow, about the wines of Bodegas Dominio Buenavista. This is a sparkling wine. It's made with Vichy Liega, and Chardonnay, lovely golden colour to it, and a super wine. I hope you enjoy it. Bye.